Okay, time for a new video, and whether you are somebody new to my channel or you are returning to my channel to watch this video, it is greatly appreciated. As always, I am filming this video in one go, so if I stumble over my words moving forwards, apologies about that, and also apologies if the quality of this video is fairly poor as well. If there's any lag, anything like that at all, sadly it can't be helped, and hopefully it is not too much of an issue for you. This is yet another Eurovision 2025 related video here on my channel, and another installment in my sporadic series titled What We Know So Far, where I go through pretty much everything we as Eurovision fans know so far about the upcoming edition of the ESC. And the 2025 edition of the Eurovision Song Contest, it will be the 69th edition of it, will take place in Basel, in Switzerland, on Tuesday the 13th, Thursday the 15th, and Saturday the 17th of May next year, specifically at the St. Jakobshalle in the city of Basel. As always, you are welcome to let me know your thoughts on anything I discuss in today's video by leaving a comment down below. And as always, there are links in the description to my other social media pages. Check them out if you so wish. On the joint Instagram page, rajc.esc, I am currently compiling wish list posts for a whole bunch of countries with regards to next year's event. So if you are at all interested, you know where to go. So I have some information in front of me to make sure I don't forget anything too important. I will go through some of the basic details first, but as we move through the months ever closer to next year's competition, I will be skimming over these details because we will all be very much aware of them by then. We know where the competition is next year. We know that the slogan United by Music is staying in place. We know that Martin Green is the ESC director. I believe this is a brand new role, and he was very much involved with Liverpool's competition last year, I believe. He is a safe pair of hands. It's nice to see him getting this pretty cushy promotion, it would seem. Martin Österdahl remains as the executive supervisor, and we also know the two executive producers. As for the bidding process, which took place some time ago now, there were a few cities in Switzerland in contention. I thought it was very likely to be Zurich, but they didn't even make the final two. It was between Basel and Geneva, who had the PAL Expo going for them. But in the end, Basel came out on top. The St. Jakobshalle is mainly used for sporting events. I know tennis has been played there quite a bit in the past. It is over the road pretty much from the St. Jakob Park, which is the home of FC Basel, the big football team in Switzerland. And I believe for the semi-finals, perhaps definitely the final, they're doing a big screening in there, I believe. So if you can't get tickets for the real deal, you might well be able to get tickets for the screening over the road, pretty much. Which I think will be pretty cool. It means more people can enjoy the competition for what it is. Now, are there any other details here? It says that there will be other events in the city, absolutely, and it does say here St. Jakob Park will host a screening of the final and performances by past Eurovision artists with entry charged for the public. The stadium will also be featured on the live broadcast, which is not much of a surprise. Some of you may well remember in 2016 in Stockholm, the Tele2 Arena, which is right next door to the Globen, or the Avicii Arena, I believe it's called these days. That was used as a bit of a fan zone as well. Lovely stuff. It says here that the venue in question has a capacity for 12,400 individuals, but that will be slightly less for Eurovision, of course, because once you work out all of the camera angles and the size of the stage and the green room, if that's part of the arena floor as well, you can expect the capacity to be slightly smaller. So I would say somewhere in the region of 10,500 to 11,000, which still isn't too bad. I think it's going to feel like quite an intimate show next year, in all honesty. As I talk to you now, we are in mid-October. 32 nations have said that they intend to take part in next year's event. More will follow. Will we have any withdrawals? I don't know. What we do know is that Montenegro are coming back, and that's nice to see. So what I'm going to do is go through these countries one by one and go through what we know so far. It is entirely possible that I will forget certain details, so apologies in advance for that. We will not have the allocation draw to determine which countries in which semi-final for some time yet. That is usually right at the end of January. So let's crack on with this. Albania are up first, and FIC is going to take place at some point around the Christmas period. And let me just load this up here. That's very interesting because there was... Here we go. For some reason, you've got to click on this, and this. Here we go. FIC 2024, it will be the 63rd edition of it. The 2015 Albanian representative Elhejda Dani is the artistic director of this year's FIC. There are 30 songs, 30 artists involved. We know the names of 3 of the songs looking at this list and some of the songwriters. We certainly know the names of all of the artists in question. I was doing a little bit of research fairly recently. I would say that Ardit Chuni, George Kacinari potentially, Lorenz Hasrama, the winner of FIC last year, who didn't end up going to Eurovision because of course there is that separate vote now. Whoever wins FIC does not necessarily go to Eurovision because there is this separate public vote. Hallelujah, it should have been introduced a long time ago. But Mal Rekkocherry, last year's FIC winner, is back for more. We've also got Olsi Biliku, Urgesa Zaimi, we also have Kleansa Susaj, or Susai, not sure how you pronounce it, but she had my favourite song, I think, in FIC last year, so it's great that she's coming back. Elvana Jatta, big star, probably should have gone to Eurovision several years ago. She is also involved. I expect that she will have a pretty big banger, and I think a lot of people will be very, very excited to see her on the FIC stage. There's also a band who I think might have won FIC in the past. Certainly they've been involved in the past, a long time ago. Jemte Edetit, which I'm sure I'm completely mispronouncing, but they're involved. Anyway, 30 acts, 85 entries were received, and we will hear those songs at some point. I don't know whether it will be before the live shows in Tirana, or whether it will be on the nights in question. Of course, there's a few shows, semi-finals. I think there's also a covers night, that sort of thing. Very San Remo, it has to be said. But anyway, chances are Albania will do the usual thing of picking a female-driven ballad. But we wait and see. As for Austria, most likely an internal selection. We won't hear anything for a while. Azerbaijan, they're probably sleeping until March. But you'll remember, with regards to the 2024 contest in Malmö earlier this year, they did announce a short list of names quite early on. Whether they'll do that again or not, I don't know. I've heard nothing yet. As for Belgium, it's switching to the other Belgian broadcaster, the Dutch-speaking one, and they are going to have a national final. And there are already some rumoured names. Can't remember who they are. I think it was 4 or 5 names in total. This was about a week ago when I saw the list. Never heard of any of them, so I'll have to do my research. But what we do know is that Belgium are going back to a national final, and I think there will be more songs involved than the last time they had a national final in 2023. But don't quote me on that. As for Croatia, Dora is back in February, and there's going to be a lot of attention on the broadcaster. Remember that this was the team who decided that Baby Lasagna should be on the backup list initially. So I don't know if any of them have been sacked or whether they've had a very strict talking to, but all eyes will be on Croatia to see if they can replicate their form from this year. It's going to be very, very hard to do. The worst possible thing is that Croatia don't qualify in 2025. That would be seen as a huge disappointment, a huge step back. You've got to push on and try and do something as majestic again. We wait and see. As for Cyprus, we do know the artist. It's Theo Evan. Evangelos Theodorou, 26, from Nicosia. Greek Cypriot family. Has studied in the US at the Berklee College of Music. Hello. Very fancy. He's been an honorary guest at the university's graduation ceremony on 3 occasions. Stayed in Los Angeles for a bit as well. Has released a whole bunch of songs. His artistry is described as inspired by everything from Stromae to Michael Jackson to reggaeton. Mainstream blend of Mediterranean pop infused with dark and gritty tones. When he was announced as the Cypriot representative, I did check out a few of his songs. Don't really remember a thing about them. We wait and see what happens, but I'm sure his song is being worked on as I speak. As for Czechia, it is my belief that they are not having a national final, which is a bit disappointing. I can see them internally selecting somebody who has probably represented Czechia before. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Lake Malawi again, Albert Cherney, the lead singer. I can see them doing that. Or they're going to go for somebody completely different. Anyway, I'd love to see Czechia win at some point soon. I believe it is an internal choice, and we may well get some details within the next few weeks. As for Denmark, well, they've been stinking the place out for a few years. Do you think DMGP is going to be any better in 2025? Probably not, but on the 1st of March, that's when DMGP 2025 will take place. I don't know if there's a change to the format. I think there probably should be, but I'm not sure entirely what it should be myself. But the quality of the music hasn't been through the roof for a long time, and Denmark do like to play it fairly safe. We all know this, and we won't find out more details for some time yet. As for Estonia, 15th of February for Eesti Laul. What we know from Estonia is that they are having... Are they having a semi-final? I don't think they are. I think they're having just one big final. But don't quote me on that. I really should know this, but it's been a while since I looked at the details. I think they've tinkered with the format again, and I believe it is one big show. I'm not sure whether I love that, but it is what it is. Estonia is a country I really love at Eurovision. I'd love to see them win again. I was too young when they won the first time. I think their music scene is pretty good, but I actually think, a bit like Denmark in all honesty, that the quality of their national selection has decreased somewhat in recent times. So hopefully the quality ramps up again for 2025. As for Finland, UMK is back and will take place on February the 8th. It's going to take place in Tampere, and I expect the quality to be fairly good. Only a few songs will be involved, and it will be interesting to see if Finland go for something quirky again or something a little bit more straightforward. As for France, well, I think by this time last year we knew it was going to be Slimane with Mon Amour. I think it was around this time last year. It might have even been over a year ago when we first heard that song. France, I'm sure, are cooking up something interesting, and we will find out more details in due course. As for Georgia, I don't know what they're doing, but they have said that they are most likely taking part in Switzerland next year. As for Germany, I believe they are sticking with a national final, but it will be very interesting to see if we get more details before the end of the year, because Stefan Raab, who's been very much involved with Germany at Eurovision in the past, he wrote their 1998 entry, he wrote their 2004 entry, he represented Germany in 2000, and he was very much involved with the national selection for years around the time that Lena came to prominence. I believe that he has an idea for a new national final format, and getting him involved again would be a pretty sweet idea, if you ask me. So I'm interested to see if Germany do opt for his suggestion, if indeed he still has an idea in mind, or whether they'll stick with the rather bland national final format that they've had a few times in the recent past. As for Greece, they are having a national final, which does surprise me a little bit. I hope for diversity, I hope for this from every country, and it'll be interesting to see how they push on from Marina Satti, whose song I didn't love, and I don't think I ever will love, but I liked her very much and I liked her confidence, and I think they really need to find somebody like that again. Maybe a male act, I don't know. As for Iceland, Söngvakeppnin is going to take part in February. There was all of this controversy surrounding Iceland earlier in the year with Bashar and voting irregularities and whatnot, and then one of the songwriters of Scared of Heights kicking up a stink. Anyway, Iceland have said, you know what, let's try it again. So, again, I repeat myself here, but I'm very interested to see what they do. I expect Bashar to be involved. I'm not sure if he's said anything himself, but I fully expect him to be involved again and push hard for the win. In fact, the post that went up earlier today, as I talk to you now, on the joint Instagram page, was an Iceland wishlist post. There are so many great Icelandic musicians who have never done Söngvakeppnin. It's high time. It's high time. As for Ireland, well, they're going to be riding this wave of momentum. Bambi Thug came along and did a splendid job, and that song came up on the rails like you wouldn't believe. So I think they're going to be more daring. I think the broadcaster, RTE, are going to be specifically looking for songs that really are outside of the box, if you see what I mean. More quirky efforts, more daring efforts, because it worked for them this year. It is risky, because it could easily backfire if you do something similar again, 2 years in succession. But It was a wake-up call for Ireland, this year's result. Doing so well with something that felt so un-Irish, for want of a better phrase. Yeah, I'm excited for Ireland, I really am, because they've got to push on, ride this wave of momentum, and who knows, maybe they could string together a few great results over the next few years. We wait and see. A song in Irish would be fantastic, thank you very much. As for Israel, who knows? Given the conflict that is happening in the Middle East, which has escalated significantly since Eurovision took place, they're all at it. I would say that it's very difficult for any Israeli act, surely, to go to Eurovision, stand on that stage, put on a smiling face, and pretend that everything is coming up roses, when in reality, it's not great. And of course, Kalush Orchestra, they could have, Ukraine could have easily not taken part in 2023. They could have said, actually, there's more pressing issues at hand here than a light-hearted entertainment show. 2022, rather, Kalush Orchestra could have said, no, Ukraine could have pulled out. But they did take part, and they won. And Israel did very well this year in the public vote, as we know. But, as I just said, given the escalation of tension in the Middle East, it is all over the damn news every day. I don't know. I don't know whether they'll be involved for sure next year or not. I think it's likely, but if it was me, I'd be saying, you know what? Actually, there are more important things to be dealing with at the moment. Let's give it a miss. I don't know. As for Italy, Sanremo, it's back with a new director at the helm. And it's on February the 15th, the grand final of it. There's already been a list circulating online of rumoured names, lots of returning acts, lots of huge established names of old. You know it's going to be quality everywhere you damn well look, and you know that Italy are probably guaranteed to finish in the top 10 again in Switzerland next year. As for Latvia, well, they qualified this year for the first time in ages. They've got to push on. Their national final, Supernova, will take place in February, and that's pretty much all that we know. I imagine there will be heightened interest given Donzi's qualification earlier in the year. Lithuania's selection is going to be on February the 15th, the same as Estonia's selection. Seems as though that's probably going to be one of those Super Saturdays or whatever next spring. We don't know much else, but Eurovision.lt is the name of their national selection once again. As for Luxembourg, January the 25th for their national selection, which is called, would you believe it, Luxembourg Song Contest 2025. I imagine there are songwriting camps happening as I speak to you now all across Europe, and all of the bang average songs that are being drummed up at these events are going to be put forwards for this national final. That sounds a bit harsh, but I can see it happening. What I'd like to see from Luxembourg moving forwards, songs that are absolutely made in Luxembourg by Luxembourg-born musicians. I think that would be really nice to see, because I'm sure there's plenty of people like that out there. As for Montenegro, their national final is next month, November the 27th. We know the names of the singers. We know the names of the event. Monty Song. We know the songwriters. The songs will be released online on November the 10th. There are backup entries as well, and one of the backup names, ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Popovic, who represented Yugoslavia in 1983 with Shuli, one of my favourite Eurovision songs of the 80s, that is for sure, from Montenegro. Kano Gastigan is the name of his song. What a huge name, and he's on the reserve list. Incredible. If he ends up being part of the actual event, he's a contender on name alone. We do have the 2013 representative for Montenegro, Nina Zizic. She is back with Dobrodošli, and Darko Dimitrov, who's written God knows how many songs over the years, including for Junior Eurovision 2, I believe. He's co-written it. That is already a very serious contender if you ask me. And if I was a betting man, Nina Zizic will represent Montenegro next year. I'd be very surprised if she didn't. But we do have Boban Rajovic. That's another name to look out for. We have... Where's Luka? Oh, that's interesting. Has somebody pulled out? Oh no, Isak Shabanovic, Lieto, Lieto, Lieto. And that song is co-written by the person who co-wrote Molitva. Was it the person who co-wrote Molitva? Maybe not. It says here they did write the lyrics for Lane Moria, which finished second at the 2004 contest. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. But anyway, again, that's a contender. Yes. Very interesting names here, absolutely. Dolce Herra, which I'm sure I'm mispronouncing, they're a drummer. Their song is called Repeat. Anyway, those songs will be out in due course. Welcome back, Montenegro. Norway, MGP, I don't think we know too much about it yet. I imagine the format will be fairly similar, and it will take place in the spring. Ulrika, will she be back? Don't know, we wait and see. Portugal, FDC, Festival de Canção, that'll be back in March. It is usually on the same day as the Melfest final, which will be on March the 8th, more on that shortly. San Marino, who the hell knows what they're doing, 22nd of February for their national final, Una Voce per San Marino, and I imagine live auditions will be taking place at some point fairly soon. I'd like to see more musicians from San Marino, or certainly Italy, we wait and see. Serbia, it says here that they are going to announce details after November the 1st, but Pesma za Eurovision, or whatever it's called, my apologies to any Serbians watching, that is likely to be the selection, absolutely, and we will find out more in the next couple of weeks. As for Slovenia, we will find out about them after New Year's Day. Is it going to be a national selection or not? I want to say it is. I think they're going back to it. But their national selections have been a bit dodgy in the past. Long-winded, big discrepancies between the jury opinions and the public opinions. It is what it is, we move on. Spain, Benidorm Fest will take place on... Well, the final will be on February the 1st. There will be new features, dates and newcomers. And I did read what they are, but it was ages ago. And Spain, you know, since Benidorm Fest was reintroduced, because it did exist years and years ago, Chanel did very well, even though the Spanish public didn't really care for her at the time. What a big mistake that was. Hello. And then we had Blanca Paloma, who was last with the public in Liverpool. And then we had Thora by Nebulosa this year, and they did not do terribly well in the jury or public vote. So what are Spain doing? They're going backwards. And questions will be raised if they don't do well next year about Benidorm Fest and whether it was really worth bringing this thing back, using it as a selection method, because if the results are great, you sort of have to change what you're doing a bit. I don't know. As for Sweden, Melfest, Måns Zelmerlöw is apparently coming back. Oh my god, can you smell that? Sniff, sniff, sniff. It's desperation, dear viewers. That's what it smells like to me. Here's a country, and all credit to them, they want to win. They want to break Ireland's record of most Eurovision wins. Fair play, you're in it to win it. Sweden usually are. But Måns coming back, it reeks of desperation to me. He's already won. He hasn't got anything to prove whatsoever. If he comes back with a half-assed song, waste of time. Waste of time. He's got to come back with something better than what he won with. Otherwise, I don't really see the point. And it's the same with Loreen the other year. Yes, she came back with a pretty decent effort. It wasn't better than Euphoria, if you ask me. Still won, though. I don't know what I'm talking about, really. But with Sweden, you know, there's already been a few rumoured names, and the leading newspaper in Sweden, they release rumoured names this time of year anyway, and they are usually bang on the money. Måns Zelmerlöw, Scarlett, John Lundvik. Oh my god. I mean, diversity is key. We want a song in Swedish, but we know we're not going to get it. Most likely, we're not going to get it. I'd like to see Victoria back. Malu Pritz, I think, is coming back. And will she break the record for most entries by a certain age? Because she's still only in her early 20s, I believe. She's been involved 3 or 4 times previously. Anyway, we move on. Sweden's Melfest, the final, will be on March the 8th. And the cities where the heats are going to be: Luleå, Gothenburg, Västerås, Malmö, Jönköping and Stockholm. And it all gets going on February the 1st. And no doubt the voting will be a bit different again. The competing entries will be released on streaming platforms on the day preceding their respective heats. So that's obviously a bit different, no doubt about it. 2,794 songs were received, or applications were received. 15 will be selected by a jury, the other 15 by a board of people at the broadcaster, so pretty much the same thing. It says here, each heat will have 6 songs, the top 2 will go through directly. Only the third placing song will qualify to a final qualification round at the end of the 5th heat, which will now feature 5 songs instead of 10. The top 2 songs in the final qualification will then progress to the final, which will comprise of 12 songs, and there will be the usual 50-50 combination of votes from the public and an international jury. If there's one thing you know about Melfest, it's that it's never really the same 2 years in a row now. They have to tinker with the format because they just love it. As for Switzerland, they're the host nation. They're going to want to do well on home soil, so we'll wait and see what happens there. As for Ukraine, Vidbir, February. Do we have rumoured names? Probably, but I haven't seen any. As for the UK, I'm reading this from a national newspaper. The man who helped to mastermind Sam Ryder's 2nd place finish is now leading the search for our entry next year. I've got to be honest with you, I don't really care about this person's credentials. What matters is the song. I don't even care who's singing it. They could be a complete unknown. They could be somebody living at the end of my street for all I care. What matters is that they can sing live and the song is pretty decent, and it's not bog standard pop, and it is not a safe ballad. I think it is time to do what Denmark need to do and take a little bit of a risk. There are so many great up-and-coming bands, so many great up-and-coming musicians, people under the age of 30 in this country, across the whole UK. They're making good music. So what if their singles aren't doing well? So what if their albums aren't really charting that highly? They've got quality. And you've got to be looking at those people. You've got to be sending out feelers. Get these people on the phone. You don't know if you don't ask. And some of these big bands as well. Bands that have really come up on the rails in recent years. You don't know if you don't ask. Give it a go. See what happens. Force them to do it, I say. Anyway, it says here, David May, who is a leading figure in the industry and who managed Sam during his triumph in Turin, well, he didn't win, he finished 2nd, but there we are, is spearheading the hunt for the act and song to represent the UK, blah, blah, blah. The search is already underway. He is keen to get a more diverse act, especially as it has been over a decade since a non-white person competed for the UK. Okay, fair enough. There is a key focus on finding a performer who can deliver a powerhouse vocal every time on stage. There is no room for a pitchy singer. Yes, fair enough. The song is very important too. The song is more important, if you ask me. So there are lots of things to consider. David is throwing himself into the challenge. Blah, blah, blah. We want to collaborate with an authentic act who has a genuine, heartfelt story to tell and an unmatched vocal tonality and range. Do you know what I'd love? You all remember Amy Winehouse. I've been listening to some of her music again recently. Ah, mwah, chef's kiss. Imagine somebody with a voice like that at Eurovision. Oh my god, people would eat it up. I'd love a rich, soulful, sensual, lovely performance. Something like Barbara Pravi a few years ago, but with a little bit more of a jazzy twist. Can you imagine that on the Eurovision stage? Because I can, and I think it would be absolutely splendid. But this is the UK, so expect disappointment. It says here, we're looking for a powerful 3-minute performance, yes, well, aren't we all, that resonates with and moves audiences across Europe and beyond. There we go. Lovely stuff. We'll wait and see what happens there. Now, that's pretty much all there is to say. The Netherlands, I don't know. They're piddling about. I think they will be involved next year. Will it be with Joost Klein? I don't even know if there's some little rule somewhere at the EBU where if an act is disqualified, they can't compete again. I don't know if that rule exists. Certainly it's never really had to be implemented. But the Netherlands, I personally think they will be involved. If they're not involved, it's disappointing. I would feel as though you've got to put it to one side now. What's happened. You've got to come back with another strong contender which captures the hearts and minds of people across Europe and try hard to win. And if that's with Joost Klein, it's with him. If it's not, it's with somebody else. Again, the Netherlands is a country brimming with great talent. Pick somebody. They might want to do it. They might want to prove a point. Away you go. Happy days. As for Poland, they'll be back. And as for Romania, I imagine it's probably money concerns there. Andorra, Bosnia, Slovakia have all said no thanks. That's a great shame. Kosovo, they applied to be part of the EBU, and they were rejected, which is a little bit surprising. So there we go. That's very disappointing. Any other countries, it says here. Armenia, we don't know anything about them. Athena Manukian, who was going to be on the Eurovision stage in 2020, had the contest not been cancelled. Maybe call her up. Malena, former junior Eurovision winner. My God. I don't know how old she is now, but she's posting pictures on Instagram, and I think, my God, are you like 25? If she has a song like Kami Kami at the adult contest, Points, points, points. Lots of people will be very excited. Australia, don't know what's happening there. I imagine they will probably pick somebody who finished 6th in a national final 4 years ago or something like that. Again, obviously Australia is brimming with great talent as well. I'd like Gabriella Chilmi, but we wait and see. As for who else here? Just going through the list of countries here. Iceland, Ireland, Israel, yes. Moldova, they've said nothing, but stop, it must be time for them to do it again. I think that might be about it. I think so. Bulgaria, will they be back? Possibly. Might come out of the blue. Hungary, I don't see them coming back anytime soon, not until there are maybe some significant governmental changes. If you are Hungarian, let me know what the attitude is like to Eurovision in your country. I am interested to know. Monaco, they've got this relatively new broadcaster up and running. Maybe it's time. If Luxembourg can come back, and they've got money, Monaco can come back as well. Morocco, I doubt it. North Macedonia, yeah, I think it's possible they could come back. They're in Junior Eurovision, so they've clearly got a bit of money to spend. Turkey, you can forget about it. It's rumoured every year and it's not happening. Belarus and Russia, yeah, something tells me they won't be back for a very, very long time, if at all. In fact, they're banned, so they can't come back. But that is it. What a big, long, rambling video from me once again. I tried to rattle through it at a good pace. That is pretty much everything we as Eurovision fans know so far about the upcoming edition of the ESC. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Any comment is much appreciated. And I might well be doing a Q&A video fairly soon. I'll announce that as and when. Keep an eye on the community page on my YouTube channel for details there. And I will be making a video or two about Junior Eurovision moving forwards. Those videos never do well on my channel. My channel is fairly small, admittedly. But I'll probably film them anyway, and stick around if you are at all interested to hear my thoughts on what I think is a fairly disappointing crop of songs for this year's JESC, which will take place in a few weeks' time in Madrid. Anyway, until next time, hopefully the quality wasn't too bad. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, and bye for now. See you again soon.